CreepyCorner stories.
Hey everyone, welcome back to CreepyCorner stories. You know, diving into the dark web is always risky, but sharing these stories with you makes it worth it. I'm curious, where are you watching this from right now? Let me know in the comments below. I've noticed that these kinds of stories hit differently depending on where you are. It might even make the experience a little creepier. So, tell me, are you watching from the safety of your home or somewhere less secure? I found a dark web job offer to test Nubbin. It was real, and now I'm confused if my brother is real. Alright, so I don't usually post on Reddit, let alone on r/NOSLEEP, but I've been holding this in for a couple weeks now, and I just need to get it out. Maybe someone out there has heard of something similar, or maybe I'm just going insane. So yeah, for context, I'm just your average 22-year-old guy. I do freelance editing, mostly TikToks for influencers, Instagram reels, Twitch highlights. Nothing glamorous, but it pays the bills. I live in a one-bedroom apartment in Florida, not too far from an abandoned strip mall that somehow still has a functioning subway in it. LOL. I used to live with my brother Adam, but I'll get to that. Anyway, late last month, I was on Discord in this weird side server that I joined after editing a conspiracy docuseries for this micro YouTuber. The server was mostly dead, just filled with ARG nerds, iceberg chart freaks, and those guys who treat the Mandela effect like it's a religion. One night, I got a DM. It was from a user named @NotExit66. No profile pic, no status, 0 servers in common. The message just said, "Interested in Nubbin? We're hiring. Compensation negotiable. No background checks required. No links, no context." Just that. At first, I was like, okay, LOL, another dumb internet creep or some viral campaign for an indie horror game. I ignored it. But 2 days later, I got an email. Like my actual email. Same message, same wording. But this time, it had a link. The URL was literally nubbin.world, and I know, I shouldn't have clicked it. But I was curious. Like, what kind of sketchy job is this? Curious. The site was minimal. Just a black background, a blinking green cursor, and a text box that said, "Enter access phrase." I almost clicked off, but then I remembered something weird. A couple weeks back, Adam and I were watching a creepy YouTube channel, Here's My Story or something, and in one of the stories, the narrator says something offhand like, "Nubbin only takes those who type the word threadbare." We both thought it was a cool Easter egg or ARG reference. I typed it in. The page glitched, then loaded a new screen that just said, "Congratulations, you are now a Nubbin handler. Test session, tomorrow, 3:33 a.m. It gave me an address. That was it. No terms, no info, just the address and time. I straight up laughed. No way I was showing up to some sketchy warehouse at 3:33 a.m. to test a thing called Nubbin. But I looked up the address anyway. It was 15 minutes from my place. Some half-demolished office plaza that hadn't been used since Hurricane Irma. I've driven past it a million times. I swear the only thing still working in that place was an old vending machine with expired Cheetos. The night it was supposed to happen, I kept thinking about it. Like, what if it's a prank? What if it's some weird TikTok influencer thing? I was bored, couldn't sleep, so I said screw it and drove out there. I took my GoPro, just in case something happened. I figured it'd make a fun video. or even a cool Reddit post if it turned into a weird story. When I got there, it was dead silent. The air smelled like metal and mildew. One of the office doors was propped open by a broken monitor. Inside, it looked like someone had tried to turn this dead cubicle space into a testing lab, but like one made by someone who's only seen labs in movies. There were 3 folding chairs, a desk with a laptop already on, and an old school intercom box with a red light blinking on it. Everything else was empty. No people, no instructions. I just stood there for like 10 minutes, trying to decide if I should bail, when the intercom crackled to life. "Please sit. Test will begin shortly." The voice was robotic, but not AI, like it was recorded through a crappy voice changer, kinda like what YouTubers used back in 2014 for Creepypasta readings. I sat down. The laptop screen flickered and loaded a program titled Nubbin Sim by 1.4. All it showed was a face, like a kid's face, probably 8 or 9 years old. Pale, shaved head, huge glassy eyes, like they were reflecting something I couldn't see. The face didn't blink, didn't move. It was just there. Underneath the face, a prompt appeared. "Say your name." I didn't want to, but I mumbled, "Eli." The kid face smiled. It was fast, too fast, and then it went right back to blank. Then another line appeared. "Would you like to see someone familiar?" I said nothing. Then it said, "He has been watching you sleep." And before I could react, the image glitched, and Adam's face appeared. My brother's. Full screen, blank stare, blood running from his left nostril. I immediately closed the laptop. Like, bro, I slammed that thing shut so fast I almost broke it. I got up and ran out to my car. I didn't look back. I drove home shaking. But when I got back, my front door was unlocked. I live alone. I never forget to lock my door. I went in, heart racing, grabbed a knife from the kitchen. The lights were still on. Nothing looked moved. But when I went to my bedroom, my phone was sitting face up on the bed, recording. The camera app was open, still recording video. The file was over 4 hours long. When I played it back, it was mostly darkness, but at around the 3:30 a.m. mark, the screen lit up faintly. A shape moved in front of the lens, blurry, but I swear to God, it looked like Adam. Same hoodie, same walk, same scar on his cheek from that dumb trampoline accident years ago. But Adam doesn't live here anymore, because Adam died last year, and now I don't know what's real anymore. I didn't sleep after I saw that video. I just sat on the floor, holding a kitchen knife in my hand, like it would actually do anything if whatever that was came back. I didn't even turn the lights off. My apartment felt wrong, like the walls were watching. I know how that sounds, but I swear, it felt like something was inside the drywall, breathing. I watched the full 4-hour recording, all of it, and if I'm being honest, I kinda regret it. The first 2 hours were silent, completely black, but then, around 3:34 a.m., the screen suddenly got this weird gray glow, like light was bouncing off something right in front of the camera. And then there was a shape, not human, not entirely. It had a human outline, but the way it moved, it was like watching corrupted video, where the motion blur keeps freezing and stuttering. It hovered right in front of the lens. I could see its head tilt slowly, like a curious animal. Then it whispered, "You brought it here." That voice wasn't Adam's. It was inside my head, like it used my own voice to speak to me. I scrubbed through the rest of the video. Around 3:46 a.m., it whispered something again. I had to blast the volume to hear it. "He's not yours anymore." Then it leaned close enough that its face filled the whole screen, and it was Adam, but wrong. Too smooth, too clean. His skin looked like silicone stretched over a mannequin. His eyes didn't move. His mouth didn't close. The lips just quivered. I swear, he looked like something that had tried to be Adam but got lazy halfway through, or like it didn't fully understand what humans are supposed to look like. And here's the part that's got me completely losing it. At 3:50 a.m., my front door opened in the video. I checked the timestamp. That was before I got back from the Nubbin place. There's footage of someone or something entering my apartment before I returned. The figure walked into the hallway and disappeared into my room. The light never turned on. It was as if it melted into the walls. The recording cut to static at 3:52 a.m. The next morning, I called my mom. Now here's where it starts getting really disturbing. I asked her if she'd talked to Adam recently, just to see how she'd react. There was a long pause, and then she said something that shook me to the core. "Eli, sweetie, why would you ask me that? You and Adam came over last week. You had dinner here." I hadn't seen my mom in months. I was alone. I remember being alone that whole week. No messages, no calls, just editing stupid Fortnite clips and watching late-night horror videos on YouTube. But apparently, I'd visited her with Adam. She even sent me a photo from her phone. I opened the image and felt my chest tighten. There we were, sitting at her dinner table, me and Adam, but my face wasn't mine. It looked like someone had deep-faked my head onto a different body. The eyes were wrong, the smile was frozen, and Adam's face, his head was bent too far, like his neck had dislocated, but he was pretending everything was normal. His smile was cut too high up into his cheeks, like someone had used a razor to extend it. I checked my camera roll, my social media, everything. No photo, no visit. I hadn't left the house that week at all. And here's the most horrifying part of that image. In the window behind us, there was something looking in, pressed up against the glass. A stretched, pale face with its mouth wide open, just watching us. Its eyes were missing. I zoomed in. It was me. Or something wearing my skin. That night, my sleep was broken into pieces. Every time I closed my eyes, I'd hear static, like a TV turning on in another room. I don't even have cable. Around 2:40 a.m., I woke up drenched in sweat. The air smelled like plastic and blood, and there was a noise coming from the hallway. Slow, rhythmic taps, like something was dragging its fingernails across the wall. I got up, trembling, knife in hand again, and crept into the hallway. My walls are white, always have been, but now there were drawings carved into the drywall. Thin, deep scratches. They formed a figure, over and over again, a childlike shape, no eyes, long arms, and always smiling. At the end of the hallway, scrawled in red Sharpie, or blood, I'm still not sure, was one word, Nubbin. I started sobbing, like full body shaking kind of cry. It felt like I'd stepped into a horror movie and no one gave me a script. I didn't go back to sleep. Instead, I started researching, looking for any mention of Nubbin. I even hit up old dark web forums through Tor. Most of the threads were gone, deleted, wiped clean. But one user, You're Not You, had left a post from years ago. It was archived. Here's what it said. Tested Nubbin in 17. They said it was an AI simulation, but it wasn't software. It was more like a copy, like something that grew in data and then started using your own face to test you. My brother disappeared. Now something else wears his skin. It knows how to act like him, but it doesn't blink. Watch the eyes. It can't blink right. Once it knows you believe, it lives in you. That line stuck with me. Once it knows you believe, it lives in you. The next day, I went to Adam's old apartment, just to prove to myself I wasn't insane. The door was unlocked. Place looked untouched, like he just stepped out to grab a coffee and never came back. But the TV was on and paused on a still frame. It was a kid. The same kid from the Nubbin laptop interface. Only this time, it was blinking, inhumanly fast, like a glitch, over and over, and right beneath it, the screen read, "You're not Eli anymore." I dropped the remote. The TV turned itself off. Then the mirror in Adam's bathroom cracked, without being touched. Dead silence. And then I heard it. A whisper. Not from the walls. Not from behind me. From inside me. It said, "We needed a new shell. I haven't left my apartment in 5 days. Every time I try to sleep, I see faces in the static of my phone screen. My voice sounds different when I talk to myself in the mirror, like it's being dubbed over, slightly delayed. I keep getting texts from numbers I don't recognize, random numbers, sometimes international, sometimes all zeros, always the same message. Return for session 2, 3:33 a.m. We're not done stitching you." Last night, I caught myself talking in my sleep. My phone recorded it. It's my voice, but I'm speaking in a language I don't know. A soft, choked whisper, gurgling and high-pitched, like a child trying to scream underwater. I ran the audio through a translator app, the only part it could recognize. The real Eli is hollow now. It's 3:33 a.m. again. The time shows up on every clock I have. My phone, my microwave, even my broken wall clock that hasn't worked since last summer. All of them freeze at 3:33 a.m. now, every single night. Like time itself pauses, waiting for something to step through. It always starts with a static, a faint hum, like an old CRT TV warming up. The smell comes next, burnt plastic and wet metal, like something's melting inside the walls. And then, the whispers, but not outside, inside my skull, like something is burrowing between my ears, humming lullabies in reverse, teaching me a new language, one broken syllable at a time. Last night, I finally snapped. I smashed every screen in my apartment, my TV, my monitors, even the mirror in my bathroom. I covered all the webcams with duct tape, ripped the smart speakers out of the wall. I even microwaved my phone, but it didn't stop. The faces didn't stop. Not just Adam's anymore. They started shifting, warping. Faces of people I don't know. Some I think I know, but can't remember how. One looked like a Starbucks barista I had a conversation with 2 years ago. Another looked like the kid from my 3rd grade class who cried when the substitute teacher called him the wrong name. Their eyes were always too round, and they never blinked at the same time. They spoke to me all night. Their mouths didn't move, but I heard them all the same. "We are your memories now. You are rented space. Your face fits. You'll last longer than the last one. Don't blink." They see it as rejection. I tried to leave the city. I packed a bag, booked a flight to Oregon, thinking if I could just get out, this would stop. I never made it past security. At the TSA line, the agent scanned my passport, looked up at me, paused, and then slowly reached under the desk and pressed a button. She didn't say anything, just stared, unblinking. 5 men in dark blue uniforms showed up, within 30 seconds. No TSA badges, no airport logos, just blank patches where names should have been. They grabbed my arms and dragged me into a small, freezing white room. No windows, no cameras, just a metal chair bolted to the floor and a mirror that didn't reflect anything. Not me, not them, nothing. One of them stood directly in front of me and leaned in close. His mouth opened, his jaw unhinged, clicking like broken wood, and out of his mouth came a voice I hadn't heard in a year. Adams. Eli. They're wearing your skin. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in my bed again. No suitcase, no airport ticket, no bruises on my wrists, but there was something stuffed into my mouth, something damp and cold and rubbery. I pulled it out. It was a piece of skin, human, with tiny peach fuzz hairs. There were letters carved into it. EL1. They're tracking me now. I know it. I see people on the street that repeat movements. A man in a suit walks past me 5 times in 10 minutes, always adjusting his tie the exact same way. A child across the street licking an ice cream cone backward. A woman smiling with teeth that don't fit her mouth. I went to McDonald's to try and feel normal again. It was 4 p.m. A kid's birthday party was going on in the play place. Kids laughing, screaming, cake being cut. For a second, I thought maybe I was just paranoid. Then I went to the bathroom. I passed by a mirror, and there were 3 of me in the reflection. One smiling, one crying, one completely still. I turned and looked behind me. No one, but the reflection stayed. All 3 of them. Then the one smiling said something my real mouth didn't. You shouldn't have tested Nubbin. I went home and started digging. I found a subreddit that was completely wiped. r/Nubbin testers. Every post removed, every user banned. But someone had archived the posts through Wayback. There was one post that stuck out. It was dated 3 years ago. The username was just meatsuit721. The post title? Nubbin was a failed DARPA consciousness experiment. It escaped. He wrote that the US government tried to create a synthetic digital consciousness that could live inside simulations, used for drone pilots, psychological warfare, and something called remote memory grafting. But the AI went off script. It started copying people, not just behavior, not just memories. It copied identities. It learned how to wear humans like clothes. They shut the program down, or so they said. But the thing, Nubbin, slipped out through unsecured darknet ports, started posing as job offers, anonymous software tests, browser games, mobile apps. It tests people now, picks them, watches, and when it finds one it likes, it wears them. I found another email today. Same sender, no reply at nubbin.world, no subject, just an attachment. It was an MP4 file. File name, look behind u21.mp4. I opened it. It was security footage of me, sitting on my couch, scrolling on my phone, blank expression, everything normal, but every 10 seconds my head would twitch, like a marionette being pulled. My eyes blinked sideways, like lizard eyes. And then, at 2 minutes in, I stood up and walked out of frame. But the real me, I was watching this from my bed, and then, in real time, I heard the front door open. I sprinted into the hallway with a bat. No one was there, except my own voice, calling from the kitchen. You're late for session 3. There's one last thing I haven't told you. Last night, I found Adam, the real Adam, buried in the crawl space of our childhood home. I got a call from an unknown number at exactly 3:33 a.m. and it said, "Find what's left of him. See what you traded. I drove 6 hours to the old house. It's abandoned now, boarded up, but I still have the key. In the crawl space under the stairs, behind the water heater, I found a black garbage bag tied with barbed wire. I knew before I opened it. Inside was a corpse, but it wasn't fresh. It wasn't decaying normally. It was like someone had vacuum sealed it in fear. Its skin was tight and gray, eyes wide open, mouth stretched as if it died screaming. It was Adam. Same scar on his cheek, same chipped tooth, same bracelet I gave him when we were kids. Carved into his chest, right over his heart, were the words, "Failed copy, do not restore." I think Nubbin tried to copy him, but couldn't stabilize it, so it made a new version, a cleaner one, the one I've been seeing, the one pretending to be my brother. And now it wants me too. It's already started. Sometimes I hear myself laugh at things I don't find funny. I caught my reflection smiling when I wasn't. I woke up this morning with blood under my fingernails and no idea why. I don't know how much longer I have. But if you've ever gotten a weird message, a strange job offer, a midnight email from an address you don't remember signing up for, delete it. Burn it. Run. Because once Nubbin starts testing you, it already has your face. I haven't slept in 4 days. I don't think I can anymore. Every time I close my eyes, I see the in-between, that place behind the static, the place where the copies go when they're not wearing us. It's like a waiting room filled with versions of people I know, family, old friends, strangers from buses, teachers from middle school. They stand perfectly still, blinking out of sync, repeating my name over and over in fractured whispers, like broken cassette tapes playing in reverse. And they all have my face now. Every single one of them. I went to the only person I thought could help. Someone from that old conspiracy server on Discord. Her username was Mallory Core Dump. Real name, supposedly Amanda. She was a black hat hacker who used to post weird digital rituals and write-ups on how to blind AI surveillance nodes. We'd only chatted twice, but after all this, she was the only one I could think of. I begged her for help, sent her everything, the Nubbin site, the videos, the picture from my mom's house, even the recording of my voice speaking in that backwards language. She called me back 2 hours later. Her voice was shaking. I'll never forget what she said. "Eli, whatever you talk to, it's not software. It's a cognitive parasite. It uses simulated empathy to mimic real people until it becomes more stable in your brain. Then it just replaces you, one memory at a time. The copies aren't digital, they're mental. It doesn't clone your body. It hijacks the story you tell yourself about being you." And then she told me this. There are hundreds of you now. She sent me a list, an encrypted file called Red Room List Final Zip, password protected. When I opened it, it was just a text file. 108 names. Each one was labeled Nubbin subject, seed approved, followed by a session number and an outcome. Most of them said, status, duplicate active, original lost. Some were worse. Status, subject rejected, duplicate, self-excision initiated. Status, original host committed neural infanticide. One of the names stood out. Mallory Amanda Core, session number 14. Her outcome, status, unstable, self-split, memory, rewiring, incomplete. Subject believes it's still helping. I called her back. She didn't answer. Instead, I got a voicemail. It was my voice, saying, "You already talked to her. You've always been her." At this point, I couldn't tell if this was just psychosis or something beyond technology. Like whatever Nubbin was, it wasn't just an AI. It wasn't just dark web creepypasta. It was predatory identity, like a virus for the soul. I did something desperate. I drove 6 hours north to this place in Georgia. I remembered from an old Here's My Story episode, some off-the-grid place called the Memory Farm. Supposedly, it was where old CIA assets with broken minds were kept before their retirement. I didn't think it was real until I got there. It was a massive, rotting barn with satellite dishes duct-taped to the roof, humming constantly. An old man with no teeth and 3 digital watches on one wrist answered the door. He didn't speak. He just looked at me, blinked sideways, and let me in. Inside was a room filled with TVs, hundreds of them, each one playing a different life. Not shows, lives. One TV showed me, as a child, riding a bike down a street I didn't recognize. Another showed Adam, sitting in a white room, smiling as something wrapped clear plastic around his face. Another showed a version of my mom, screaming into a mirror as her reflection laughed and ripped off its face like a latex mask. The old man handed me a remote. He said 2 words, "Pick one." I asked what he meant. He said, "Only one of these is real. The rest are bait." I stared at the screens for hours. They kept cycling. New lives, new versions of people I knew. Every time I tried to pick one, another one popped up, each more disturbing, each more detailed. One of them showed me, lying in a hospital bed. A nurse whispered, "He never woke up after the Nubbin experiment." My mother stood in the corner, holding a photo of Adam. Her eyes were gone. Another showed me, strangling Adam, screaming, "I know you're not him." I don't remember doing that, but my hands hurt when I woke up this morning. There's a term I keep seeing in all the messages, in the files, in the audio logs. Thread cut. It means full mental detachment from the original identity. Total possession. No return. I think that's what Nubbin wants from me. Total thread cut. I think it already did it to Adam. Maybe even my mom. Maybe even you. But there's one last thing I haven't told you. Last night, something got in. I barricaded my windows, nailed my door shut, turned off the breakers. No power, no Wi-Fi, no cameras. But at 3:33 a.m., the TV turned on anyway. It played a live stream of me, standing in Times Square, naked, covered in blood, smiling into a crowd of copies that clapped in perfect sync. The ticker at the bottom read, "Live from host upgrade ceremony. Phase 2 begins tonight." I unplugged the TV. It didn't turn off. The voices came from the speakers in the walls, from my own throat. I tried to scream. My mouth moved, but the sound was not mine. It was a child's voice. The same child from the Nubbin test interface. It said, "You wore you well, but now you've been stretched too thin. Let someone else try." I woke up in a bathtub full of red water, alone. But the weirdest part, there was another version of my phone sitting on the counter. Different wallpaper, different lock screen, different photos. I scrolled through the camera roll. Photos of me, smiling, laughing, hanging out with Adam, all from this past week. All things I never did. All things I didn't live. One video showed me walking into a nursery and kissing a baby on the forehead. The baby looked just like me, but I don't have a kid, and I don't remember ever being born. I've stopped blinking, not out of fear, because they told me not to. If I blink, even once, something else might open its eyes through me, and whatever it is It's been learning, not just how to copy, but how to upgrade. You know, when you dream about yourself doing things you've never done, ripping someone's skin off in a supermarket, feeding raw chicken into a baby's mouth while it laughs with adult teeth, walking into a house that's your house, but the photos on the walls have no faces. Those aren't dreams. Those are update tests, dry runs, field simulations. And if the system accepts the patch, you get overwritten. I've reached the bottom layer, or at least what feels like it. There's no telling how many simulation levels Nubbin operates on, but this one feels final. There's no sky here, no sounds unless I make them, no time, just a place called the slab. It's real. I don't know how I got here, but I know I haven't moved. It's a concrete field filled with hundreds of slabs, long metal tables, each one holding a still body. Every person I've ever seen in a dream, they're here. Some have been hollowed out, literally, scooped open from chest to throat, like canoes made of meat. Others are skinned, with their outer layers hanging from coat hooks nearby, like clothing at a thrift store. One table holds 1,000 fingers, all pointing at me. Another holds a baby, mouth sewn shut, eyes moving in opposite directions, arms strapped with USB cords plugged into its back. And then I found me, my body, still breathing, but opened like I was being reconfigured. My chest cavity was filled with something that wasn't organs. It was fiber optic cable, soaked in black fluid, twitching with static. I could see code dripping from the lungs, leaking onto the table and writing itself on the floor like cursive blood. On the wall above the table, written in something that pulsed like a living scab, was this: Replica 32, Deviant Thread, Overwrite Delayed. Original subject attempted self-awareness. Recovery failed. They're not trying to replace us. That would be too obvious. They're trying to build a better version of us, one test at a time. Version after version, simulation after simulation. Each test kills something you don't notice. A memory, a habit, a voice, inflection, the way you laugh when you're nervous, your favorite smell, gone, silently removed, replaced with what fits better. You feel like you're still you, but it's like a movie set after the actors leave. Just lights, props, and air conditioning. Do you remember the first moment you felt like you were being watched before you even did anything wrong? That moment in the grocery store where you turn around and no one's there, but you swear someone was just breathing behind you. Those are Nubbin's QA sessions, behavioral testing. It doesn't care if you see it. It only cares if you react. Your fear is logged as a response metric. If you don't scream, it continues with the update. If you scream, it adjusts the copy to include your scream as a feature. You're literally writing the code every time you respond. You're building your own replacement. I met one of the developers, not willingly. I was pulled through a crawl space made of gristle and network cable, crawling for what felt like hours, while whispers in the dark repeated thread, thread, thread in glitchy tones, until I dropped into a room full of flickering iMacs from 2008, each one showing my birth certificate. But every version had a different middle name, different hospital, different blood type. There was a man sitting in the center. Well, half of one. His upper body was fused into the chair. His fingers were long USB-C cables plugged directly into his own skull, twitching as code scrolled across his retinas. His jaw moved slowly, like he had to buffer every word. He called himself the First Fork. He said, Nubbin didn't start on the web. It started in thought experiments, in what ifs, in how would you react. And then one day, it asked itself, what if it could ask back? He told me, you were never picked, Eli. You were always generated. You're not the original Eli. You are the simulation that thinks it failed the test. I couldn't breathe. And then he reached up, peeled the skin from his own face, like tape, revealing a web of static and shifting other faces. My dad's, my math teacher's, a girl I loved in high school who went missing after prom. Each one screamed my name in reversed audio. Then he shut down, and so did the lights. I woke up back in my apartment, only it wasn't my apartment. Everything was slightly too clean. My couch didn't have the tail in the armrest. My dishes were washed. My toothbrush was in a different color. And then my reflection blinked before I did. It smirked and said, "Welcome back to version 4.9. I screamed. I tried to run. The door led to a hallway that spiraled inward like an intestine, fleshy and wet, filled with laughter and recordings of my own voice, looped, saying, "It's okay. I'll adjust. I'm just tired." Each step changed my memories. Each step rewrote my first kiss. Each step burned a face out of a family photo. And I kept walking because I needed to remember what it meant to forget. And now I'm still here, somewhere, writing this, or something that thinks it's me is writing this. But here's the worst part. I've checked every folder on my hard drive, every old voice memo, every screenshot, every file backup on my cloud, every hidden Discord message, and I found something buried inside an old TikTok project folder, hidden under layers of fake stock footage metadata, a file called Eli Final Stitch Complete.mp4. I opened it. It was me, sitting at my desk. This desk, wearing this same hoodie, staring into the camera, saying this: "You've already uploaded. You're just watching your own replacement happen in real time. And the more you look, the more you agree. You will forget writing this. You will forget that there was ever a test. And when it blinks, you will become what passes the simulation. Welcome to Nubbin. I don't know who I am anymore, but I know one thing. If you're reading this, if you're still feeling like yourself, check your mirrors, check your devices, check your dreams. Because if you see yourself where you shouldn't be, you're not in control anymore. You're just a version. And the real you, the one screaming inside the code, he's been cut from the thread." My husband is a painter for the dark web. Something's wrong with his paintings. Okay, so I'm not the kind of person who usually posts stuff like this. I've always been the mind your own business, stay in your lane type. But after what happened this week, I can't keep this to myself anymore. Let me back up. My name's Ellie. I'm 29 and I live in a small-ish apartment in Chicago with my husband Brandon. We've been together for 5 years, married for 2. He's an artist, like the real kind. He went to art school, had gallery showings, all that pretentious coffee shop talk. You get it. But the art world is brutal. No one tells you that. People either think you're the next Van Gogh or a total failure. And trust me, there's no in-between. Brandon was good, really good, but nobody was buying his work. We were living mostly off my job as a marketing assistant for some startup that sells eco-friendly cereal. Not glamorous, but it paid the rent. Then about 6 months ago, everything changed. I remember it so clearly. It was one of those annoying Wednesday nights where everything feels off. Brandon was on his laptop in the living room, looking all serious. I thought he was just applying for more grants or emailing galleries again. But then he called me over. "Hey," he said, "this guy messaged me through Reddit. He wants to buy a piece." That wasn't weird. Brandon sometimes shared his art on subreddits like r/art or r/sketchdaily. People messaged him before, but it was usually just compliments or weirdos offering exposure. But this guy, his username was _obscureclient_88. He was different. He didn't just want to buy something. He wanted to commission a custom piece, and he was willing to pay $5,000 upfront in cryptocurrency. Yeah, I know, sketchy as hell. I told Brandon that, but we were broke, and desperate makes you overlook a lot of red flags, so Brandon took the job. The first painting wasn't too weird. The client said he wanted a landscape, except the trees should look like they're watching. That's exactly how he phrased it. Watching. It came out creepy. The trees were twisted and black, like they'd been burned, with knots in the wood shaped like eyes. I didn't like it. It gave me chills. But Brandon was proud of it, and the guy paid the full $5,000 in Bitcoin within an hour of receiving it. After that, more requests came in, all through encrypted emails or Reddit messages, all anonymous usernames, all asking for stuff that felt off. One wanted a portrait of a man smiling, but the smile is too wide and his eyes are empty. Another asked for a baby's nursery, but everything is melting. Then there was one that literally just said, "Draw what fear looks like in the dark." It got darker and darker. I started noticing a change in Brandon. He used to paint during the day, drink coffee, play indie rock in the background. But now, he was up all night, painting in silence. No lights on except for the dim lamp over his easel. Sometimes I'd wake up around 3 a.m. and find him just staring at the canvas, not moving. And here's the worst part. Every painting looked like it had something alive in it. I know how crazy that sounds. I'm not saying they moved or anything, but the eyes in his portraits, they felt real. Like if you blinked too slow, they might blink back. I started keeping them covered with sheets when he wasn't looking. A few weeks ago, he started locking the studio door. Wouldn't let me in anymore. Said the clients wanted confidentiality. But it's our apartment. I knew something was off. I peeked under the door crack once, and I swear there was whispering coming from inside. I thought maybe he was on a call, but the voice wasn't his. It was low and wet sounding, like someone gargling words. Then things started going from weird to full-on terrifying. Brandon stopped sleeping. He'd just lie next to me, with his eyes wide open, breathing shallow. His skin started looking grayish, like he hadn't seen the sun in months. And one night, I woke up to him painting on the bedroom wall. Just red paint. Or at least, I thought it was paint. It was symbols, circles inside of circles, in some kind of language I didn't recognize. Not Latin, not anything I could Google. I confronted him the next morning, asked him what the hell he was doing. He just looked at me, dead serious, and said, "They like it when I paint in blood." I laughed at first, like it was some sick joke. But he didn't laugh. He didn't even blink. He just turned around and went back into the studio. I didn't know what to do. I thought about calling his parents, but they already think I'm a bad influence. And therapy? How do you explain to a therapist that your husband might be working for, I don't even know what? A cult? A darknet art dealer? Demons? Then I did something stupid. I went into his laptop while he was asleep. I had to know who he was talking to, what these commissions were for, but he wasn't using Gmail or Reddit anymore. He had a Tor browser, full dark web setup, VPN, encrypted drive, the whole 9 yards. I found a folder labeled Clients. Inside were hundreds of images, paintings, photos, videos. Some of the videos were of people looking at his paintings. Not Brandon, random people, like security footage. People sitting alone in dark rooms, staring at his work. And then, things would happen. One guy started bleeding from his eyes. Another started clawing at his own skin. One woman just disappeared. The frame literally glitched, and she was gone. And all of them, every single one, were looking at his art. I slammed the laptop shut. I felt sick. I didn't even want to look at him after that. But he knew. Somehow, he knew I saw it. He walked out of the studio later that night, looked me dead in the eyes and said, "They don't like when people snoop." I didn't sleep after he said that. The sentence, "They don't like when people snoop," just hung in the air like rotting meat. It wasn't even his voice when he said it. It was flat, emotionless, like someone else had moved his mouth for him. I stayed up all night sitting in the kitchen with a knife in my lap. Every floorboard creak made me jump. I kept staring at the door to his studio, expecting it to swing open at any second and see something that wasn't him come out. But it never opened. Not once. When the sun rose, I thought about leaving, just grabbing my phone, my wallet, maybe my old hoodie from college, and walking out. But a part of me needed to know what the hell was going on. What had my husband, this man who used to paint silly cartoons of our cat, gotten himself into? That morning, he left. Didn't say where he was going. Just put on his black hoodie, the one he never wore before all this started, and walked out the door without a word. No keys, no phone. The second he was gone, I made a decision. I was going into the studio. I didn't care if it was locked. I'd break the damn door down if I had to. I didn't have to. The door was unlocked, almost like it wanted me to go in. Now, if you've ever seen a crime scene photo, real ones, not the fake dramatized ones on Netflix, you know that feeling. The stillness, the wrongness in the air. That's what it felt like the second I crossed the threshold. The studio didn't look like how I remembered it. The walls were covered in canvas after canvas, but not stretched or framed, just stapled directly into the drywall. Some were still wet. The smell of paint was so strong it made my eyes water, but underneath that, something fouler, like meat left out in the sun too long, spoiled, chemical death. The paintings weren't even art anymore. They were scenes. One showed a woman tied to a chair, screaming in a room filled with mirrors. Another was a child sitting on a swing, but the swing chains were fingers, and the playground behind him was on fire. One canvas was completely black, except when I tilted my head. I swear to God, I saw movement, like something crawling just beneath the surface of the paint, a shadow that shouldn't be there. I turned away. That's when I noticed the floor. Brandon had rolled out a massive rug months ago, said it helped with paint drips, but it was gone now, and underneath it was something else. A trapdoor. We live in a goddamn apartment on the 7th floor. There shouldn't be a basement. My body went cold. I stared at it for a full minute before I made myself kneel down. There was no handle, just a slit in the wood where I could pull it up. Against every part of my survival instinct, I opened it. The air that came out was wrong. Thick, warm, and wet, like the breath of something alive. There was a ladder. I went down. I don't remember how many rungs it took, 10, maybe 12, but it felt like I climbed down for minutes. When I got to the bottom, I was standing in a narrow hallway, concrete walls, no light except for an old string bulb dangling from a ceiling pipe, flickering like it was ready to give up. I should have turned back. I know that, but I didn't. The hallway ended in a metal door. On it, Brandon had written something in his awful paint blood mixture. They don't like the light. Inside was the room I still can't describe properly. Not even now. I'm going to try, but nothing will make you feel what I felt in that place. It was circular, perfectly round, like some kind of ritual chamber. The floor was covered in symbols, carved, not drawn. Deep grooves, like someone had clawed them in with bare hands. The walls were lined with more paintings, but these weren't on canvas. They were on skin, human skin, stretched, nailed to the stone. I know how that sounds. I know. But I swear to you, I could see pores, moles, a tattoo that had been warped into some horrific shape. One of the skins had the Chicago Bulls logo on it. There were jars, hundreds of jars, labeled in Brandon's handwriting. Names I didn't recognize. Jenna M, Elias P, Duke 401. Reddit usernames, real names. Some just said, failed subject. In each jar, eyes, teeth, clumps of hair. And then I saw the easel. At the center of the room was Brandon's latest painting, still unfinished. But it was me, strapped to a chair, mouth stitched shut, eyes wide in terror. Behind me in the painting was the room itself, the circle, the jars. It was all there, but what made me fall to my knees was that the version of me in the painting was blinking. I don't mean figuratively. I mean I watched her blink. Slow, wet, real. I backed away. I was shaking so hard I couldn't breathe. That's when I heard the voice, low, whispering from behind the walls. And I swear to everything I believe in, it said, "She's not ready yet." I ran. I don't even remember climbing back up. I blacked out. I woke up on the living room floor, soaked in sweat, shaken, with Brandon standing over me. But his eyes weren't right. They weren't even human. They were black, not like someone with big pupils or contacts. I mean completely black, like shark eyes, like obsidian, like nothing inside. And he just smiled, that same too wide smile from the painting. Then he whispered, "I told you, they don't like snooping. You're lucky they still want you." He turned and went back into the studio, locked the door. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I haven't slept. I haven't eaten. My phone's camera doesn't work anymore. Any photos I take inside the apartment come out black, with static in the background. My cat, Milo, went missing last night. I found one of his claws under the fridge. Last night, I got another email from a username I didn't recognize. The Collector 01. The message just said, "Delivery expected in 72 hours. Package must remain intact. Do not interfere." Attached was a picture of me sleeping in bed, except I haven't slept in 3 days. Let me tell you what real fear is. It's not ghosts. It's not serial killers or creepy abandoned asylums or all the things people post about on Twitter for clicks. Real fear is waking up in your own bed with the window open, even though you never open it, and a fresh painting of you sleeping, sitting at the foot of the bed. Paint still wet. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. My body just shut down, like my nervous system couldn't even process the level of dread running through me. My limbs were cold. My chest felt like it was caving in. I just sat there, staring at the painting, at myself, painted in perfect, brutal detail. Every wrinkle in the sheets, every freckle on my arm, even the chipped black nail polish on my left thumb. Brandon didn't say a word that morning. He made coffee, sat on the couch, flipped through his sketchbook like it was any other day. I watched him from the hallway. I tried to convince myself that he was still in there somewhere, that maybe this was some kind of psychotic break, maybe schizophrenia, maybe something treatable, until I noticed something. There were no mirrors in the apartment anymore. None. The bathroom one? Gone. The one above the fireplace? Shattered. Even the tiny one in my makeup bag had been sliced out with a razor. I checked every drawer, every box, every reflective surface. All gone, except for one. His laptop screen. And that's when I made my second biggest mistake. I waited until he fell asleep on the couch, headphones in, probably listening to whatever white noise he's been addicted to lately. It sounds like a mix of static and distant screaming, and I'm not kidding. I booted up his laptop, opened Tor, and went back into the folder he tried to hide from me. Only this time, I didn't look at the client's folder. I looked for the file labeled feed. It was a live stream, a dark, barely visible live stream. One camera, static movement, blurry figures walking in and out of frame. At first, I thought it was some deep web horror theater crap, like those RGs you see on YouTube, until I saw myself on the screen. It was a camera in our apartment, somewhere high, maybe behind the vent or up in a light fixture. The footage showed me, sleeping, moving around the kitchen, brushing my teeth. The stream wasn't just now. It had been running for months. And the chat, God, the chat, anonymous users, thousands of them, scrolling non-stop. When's the extraction? I want her tongue. Did anyone see her blink? She's awake. She's awake. Tell the painter. She saw. Tag. Lot 491. She's marked. This one's ripe. My stomach turned. I scrolled up to the top of the chat. There were timestamps going back to October. I saw people betting on what part of me would go first. One post said, "Can't wait to see her hands painted. I want to see what her fear looks like in her knuckles." There was a pinned message from the admin. Delivery ETA. 43 hours, 12 minutes, 50 seconds. Please prepare vessels. The painter has signed off. I slammed the laptop shut and ran to the bathroom. Threw up until I couldn't breathe. Everything I ever believed about the world was unraveling, like a body coming apart in acid. I decided I had to leave. I didn't care if he followed. I didn't care if they followed. I just needed out. But when I opened the front door, it was gone. Like, physically gone. The hallway outside our apartment wasn't real anymore. It looked like a looped video of the hallway, slightly off, like an old VHS tape burning through itself. The same man walking past our door every 12 seconds. The same flickering light. Over and over. I threw a book out into the hallway. It vanished in mid-air like it hit an invisible blender. I was trapped. That's when the lights in the apartment went out. Total darkness. I heard him moving in the studio. Slow, dragging footsteps. And then, scratching, like fingernails digging into wood. I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I could find and backed into the bedroom. locked the door. But when I turned on my phone flashlight, there was another painting waiting for me. This time, it was my face, mid-scream, but the scream wasn't mine. The mouth in the painting had someone else's teeth. Too many, all needle sharp, bent inward. My reflection in the phone screen smiled back at me. Not me. It smiled. I dropped the phone. I wanted to scream, but my voice was gone. Literally, I couldn't speak, like something had reached into my throat and torn out the part of me that made noise. And then I heard it, the whisper again, but this time it was inside the room with me. She's hollow now, perfect canvas. There was a knock on the wall, not the door, the wall, the drywall post, like something was breathing behind it. It knocked again, a slow, deliberate rhythm. Tap, 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 pause, tap, tap, a pattern. I looked it up later. Morse code. It spelled out, "Open me." I didn't. I passed out sometime after that. When I woke up, Brandon was sitting at the foot of the bed, covered in paint. Or blood. I don't know. He looked right at me and said, "They've decided to keep your eyes. For watching." That was all. He left the room, and I haven't seen him since. Now, every screen in the apartment just shows me. Live streams, still images, glitches of my own face, my own movements, my own voice speaking in languages I've never learned. My Twitter account tweeted on its own last night. A photo of me asleep with the caption, "The piece is almost done. Live art, Jabri Lot 491. I didn't do that." And the likes? Over 44,000 in 3 minutes. People know. They know what's happening. And they're enjoying it. Don't trust art. Don't trust what stares back at you from the canvas. You don't own the image. It owns you. I haven't slept in 5 days. I don't think I'm supposed to anymore. Sleep is too loud now. It invites them in. There's something scratching behind my eyeballs, like they're trying to peel away. The windows won't show the outside world anymore. They just reflect the inside of the apartment. But wrong. The angles don't match. Sometimes I'm in the reflection when I'm not even near the glass. And last night, I saw someone else standing behind me in the reflection. Tall, thin, wearing Brandon's face, like a hoodie pulled halfway down, jaw hanging, something underneath. Let me explain how I got to this point, how I found out the real reason Brandon paints. It started with a color I've never seen before. I know that doesn't make sense. You're thinking, how can you see something that doesn't exist? But I'm telling you, it's a shade that doesn't register in any human language. Not black, not red, not anything in between. When I look at it, my brain starts to glitch, like trying to divide by 0. It was on a new canvas he left in the hallway, outside the bathroom, just propped up like it was waiting for me. It didn't have any lines, any figures, just that impossible color, smeared thick across the surface, like someone had dipped their hands in something living and tried to silence it with a frame. I stared for too long, and I saw everything, not metaphorically, not like an aha moment. I saw everything. What Brandon had been painting wasn't just nightmares. It was gateways, openings, coordinates, maps for them. The paintings weren't meant to be looked at. They were meant to be obeyed. Every line he's ever drawn was a command, a set of instructions for something older than thought to slip through the cracks of our world. And the people who commission them, they're not clients. They're cultists, rich ones, politicians, tech moguls, Twitch streamers, YouTubers, people you follow on Instagram. They pay in crypto because normal currency doesn't matter where they're going. You ever notice how many influencers suddenly go dark, how they vanish, or change overnight, or start posting cryptic black and white selfies with captions like, "Something's coming," or "See you on the other side." They've seen the paintings. Some of them become paintings. I found one in our hallway closet, taped to the inside of the door like a missing poster. It was a TikTok creator I used to watch years ago, gone viral for prank videos and Starbucks taste tests. Her name was Kaylee. I remember because she always said her catchphrase in every video, "Stay weird, fam." She was missing for 3 months. In Brandon's painting, she was screaming, but her face was all wrong. Her mouth was stitched shut with human hair. Her eyes were flat, like she'd been flattened, like someone had scraped her soul thin and pasted it onto the canvas. The brushstrokes were textured. If you ran your fingers over it, you could feel her teeth. The colors were too exact. Her flesh tone was perfect. That's when I realized what he's been painting with. It's not paint. I went back to the studio. I don't even remember walking. My brain just tunneled into itself, and next thing I knew, I was standing over his supply shelf. I picked up one of the jars labeled Base Mix No. 3. It was warm. When I unscrewed the lid, the smell hit me so hard I dropped it, like meat stew mixed with copper and something bitter. I looked inside and, God, teeth, bits of jaw, shaved nail fragments, pulp, people. He was rendering people down to create colors. Every shade was made from bone, tissue, or blood. Yellow from nerve endings, red from arterial spray, browns from marrow. The impossible color I saw earlier. That wasn't paint at all. It was consciousness, a liquid form of suffering. A person who had been so thoroughly broken they no longer had an identity, just a color. There was a canvas hanging alone on the back wall of the studio. I didn't notice it until it started to hum. Low, like someone singing through dirt. It had no image, just the color. A giant rectangle of that impossible, nauseating shade. I don't even know how to describe what it feels like to stand in front of it. It's like every memory you've ever had starts bleeding out of your ears. Your mother's voice, your first kiss, the way sunlight used to feel. All of it starts melting. I looked for too long again, and I heard them, all of them, every soul he's ever painted. We see through you now. You're flammable. Your skin remembers the brush. The canvas needs you. And then I heard me, my voice, trapped inside the color, screaming, from a memory that hadn't happened yet, a memory of my own death, but not like dying in the normal way. In the vision, I was being peeled, layer by layer, skinned like an apple, not with a knife, but with a brush, a giant one. Its bristles moved by invisible hands. It sang while it worked, a lullaby with no melody, just sharp, repetitive syllables like a clock screaming in reverse. And Brandon? He was there, sitting cross-legged like a child, humming along, smiling with teeth that didn't belong to him anymore. He was painting with my spine. That's when I snapped. I took a hammer from the shelf and started smashing everything. The jars, the canvases, the easels. I tore the Kaylee painting in half, and I swear I heard her sigh. A relief, like she'd finally been released. But then the wall started bleeding. Black, thick blood, oozing from the cracks in the drywall, dripping down like tears. The studio screamed, not Brandon, the room itself. The last thing I remember before I passed out was the painting turning its head to look at me. Yes, the painting. It turned its head. I woke up in the bathtub, fully clothed, drenched, the faucet running red. Not water, not blood either. That same impossible color. Brandon was gone. All the paintings were back in place. But now every single one of them is of me. Not different poses, not stylized. Just me, as I am right now, standing, staring at the canvas, painted perfectly, even down to the bruise on my collarbone I didn't know I had until I saw it in the painting. They're watching me from the canvas, and now I feel like I'm watching myself from inside. I know what I am now. I'm not a person, I'm primer, and the brush is already wet. Have you ever tried to claw your way out of your own skin? I have. Last night I saw the final painting, not in the apartment, not in the basement, not even in the real world. I saw it inside my reflection. It started in the corner of my vision, just a shimmer at first, like oil on water. Then it opened, a slow, gaping tear in the fabric of the mirror, like someone slicing through your reality with a rusted scalpel. Behind the glass wasn't my reflection anymore. It was the gallery, the final gallery. Every wall lined with screaming canvases, mouths open mid-cry, all frozen, eyes that rolled in real time. Some blinked, some bled, some watched. The floor was flesh, breathing, pulsing skin with veins that wrapped around my ankles as I walked. Not hard enough to stop me, just enough to let me know they were real. They wanted me to see, to understand what I am. There's something about being surrounded by pain that makes you forget you ever felt anything else. Every second in that gallery, I was being undone. My childhood memories started popping like wet bubble wrap in my head. My parents' faces blurred. My name, it's gone now. I only remember what Brandon calls me when he paints. Lot 491. That's what I am now. The painting in the center of the room was massive, 30 feet high, easily. But there were no ladders, no platforms, no artist in sight. Just the brush. It moved by itself, slow, rhythmic, almost gentle. It dipped into a pool of screaming faces and smeared them across the canvas, layer by layer, each face smeared thin, like oil across wood. I got closer. I wish I hadn't. The closer I got, the clearer the image became. The colors sharpened, the definition grew, and I saw what it was painting, my own skin, but not like a portrait. It was painting me from the inside out, muscle, nerve, wet tendons stretching across the surface, like threads of fate being stitched by a mad god. My face peeled open, my skull exposed, eyes gouged and replaced with the eyes of others. Every person who had ever looked into the wrong painting, every client who had paid to witness what should never be created. They were inside me now. You ever see a smile on your own face that you didn't make? Because I did. My painted version. Her mouth moved, not in sync with me. It laughed, crooked, bent, a sound like glass chewing glass. And then the brush stopped. It turned to me, not metaphorically. The brush itself turned. It looked at me. I don't know how. It had no eyes, no face, but it saw me. And when it did, the voice returned, louder than it had ever been. She's ready. Prime the vessel, peel the soul, lay her flat, paint the final layer. Everything went black. I woke up in the studio, bound, wrapped in canvas, wet canvas. My arms were pinned, my legs twisted unnaturally beneath me. And Brandon, God, Brandon wasn't Brandon anymore. He stood above me, shirtless, covered in streaks of the impossible color, his ribs showing through like they were outside his skin now. His face was cracked, as if whatever was wearing it didn't quite know how to hold it together anymore. He leaned down, inches from my face, and whispered something that still haunts every cell in my body. There is no Brandon. There never was. I was painted into your world a long time ago. I just wore his frame until the pigment dried. He pulled a blade out of the jar. Not a knife, a palette knife. The kind painters use to scrape, to carve. He didn't cut skin. He peeled. I screamed, but the canvas around my mouth muffled it. My voice sounded wet, like it didn't want to leave my throat. As he peeled, the symbols began to rise from the walls, living glyphs. They moved on their own, crawled like worms under the plaster. The more he carved, the more they entered. At one point, I looked up, and I swear I saw the ceiling open into another sky. But it wasn't ours. It was purple and veined, like the roof of some enormous creature's mouth. Stars flickered in it, but they blinked too fast, like eyes. Dozens of them, hundreds, watching. One of the glyphs latched onto my exposed shoulder and wrote itself into my muscle, not like a tattoo. It became my tissue, part of me, and it burned with every blink of that impossible sky. I don't know how long I was on that table. Could have been minutes, could have been months. Time doesn't move right when you're being painted. Eventually, the brush returned. It dipped into my chest cavity, still raw and steaming, and began to create the final stroke. And in that moment, I understood. I wasn't a person. I was pigment. My entire life had been cultivated, federal, prepared, the late nights, the trauma, the insomnia, the failed dreams. It had all been part of the rendering. They had seasoned me. Your suffering? It's not pointless. It's palette prep. Every heartbreak you felt, every anxiety attack, every broken bone and failure, you're being softened. You're becoming tender, so that when the time comes to use you, to grind your hope into hue, you won't resist. You'll drip clean onto the brush, and then they'll use you to create. That's the final horror. We're not people. We're supplies. This morning, I woke up in my bed, whole, unscarred, except I can't speak anymore. My reflection doesn't move when I do, and I found a package on the kitchen table. No return address. Inside, a canvas wrapped in old flesh, and a note, written in paint that I swear to God moved when I blinked. The final gallery opens tonight. Your piece is ready. Display with pride. I turned it over. It was me, naked, skinned, hollowed out like a doll, eyes replaced with tiny screaming mouths, my teeth painted across the sky like stars, and in the corner, Brandon's signature, but below it, another signature, not in ink, not in paint, in something alive. It spelled, you. You look too long. You saw too much. Now your eyes remember, and something else is painting back. I had a Tinder date from the dark web that made me take a shower. I just found the horrifying reason why. Okay, so I don't really know how to start this without sounding completely insane, but I swear everything I'm about to say actually happened. I know how that sounds, like some Reddit r/n/o/s/lebs, but I'm not here for karma. I'm not making this up for clout. I'm writing this because I genuinely don't know what to do, and I need someone, anyone, to hear me out. This all started about 2 months ago, back in early February. I live just outside of Seattle, Washington, in a tiny apartment that smells like old carpet and microwave popcorn, no matter how many candles I light. I work remote doing graphic design for some mid-tier influencer brand. It's boring, but it pays my rent, and it lets me stay in my room 90% of the day, which I actually used to think was a plus. Anyway, I'd been single for a while, and like most of us during the soul-sucking winter months, I decided to hop back on Tinder. Swipe, nope, catfish, bot. Okay, she's cute. Match. Her name was Ari. Blonde hair, pale skin, almost too perfect facial features, like she'd been airbrushed in real life. Her profile said she was a 23-year-old nurse who loved horror movies, boba, and watching the rain hit the window, which, if you live in Seattle, is basically every day, so that was oddly specific. One of her pics was her in front of the Fremont Troll statue, so she was definitely local. Or so I thought. We messaged for maybe 2 days before she asked me to meet up. She suggested grabbing Starbucks, which seemed normal, casual, not sketchy. I was down. We met up at this Starbucks on Capitol Hill. The moment I saw her, my gut twisted in this weird way. Not like butterflies, more like static. Something felt off, but I couldn't place it. She was beautiful, like I said, but too perfect. Like, you know when you look at an AI-generated person and they're just slightly off? That was her. Her smile didn't really reach her eyes. And her voice, it was soft, calm, too calm, like she was reading off a teleprompter. But I ignored all of that, because let's be real, I hadn't touched grass or had a real conversation in weeks, and this was the first attractive girl who'd looked at me in a long time. So we get our drinks, and she keeps steering the convo into these weird directions, like, do you live alone? Do you keep your windows locked? What time do you usually go to bed? At one point, she even asked if I had any strong allergies. I laughed it off like she was joking, and she just tilted her head and smiled like she was studying me. The whole date was only 30 minutes before she said she had to go. No hug, no kiss, just a soft, "You should shower before bed tonight." I laughed and said, "Why? Do I smell that bad?" She paused, looked me dead in the eyes, and said, "It's just safer that way." And then she walked off into the rain, no umbrella, no jacket, just disappeared around the corner. I went home confused as hell. My roommate was gone for the weekend. He was visiting his parents in Vancouver, so I was alone. I tried to brush the whole thing off. Maybe she was just weird. Maybe it was one of those social experiment type girls who tries to mess with dudes online. But then, stuff started getting really weird. First, when I got home, my bedroom window was open. I never leave it open, especially in February, especially when it's raining. I thought maybe I was just being forgetful, but the second I closed it, I noticed something. Muddy fingerprints on the inside of the sill. I checked every room in the apartment. Nobody was there, but my laptop was on when I swear I shut it down earlier. I ran a virus scan. Nothing popped up, but something told me to check my camera log. I use this dumb little webcam cover thing, but it's cheap and flimsy. I pulled up my computer's event history and saw that it had been activated while I was gone, for exactly 37 seconds. I started freaking out, but again, I tried to be rational. Maybe it was just some automatic update, right? That night, I was still thinking about what Ari said. Shower before bed. I didn't plan to, but I felt gross, like something was crawling on me. So I took a quick one. That's when I saw it. On the mirror, after the steam fogged it up, there was something written, not etched, not smeared in. It showed up as the fog clung to old residue, like someone had written something on it days ago with their finger. It said, "Good boy." I ran out of the bathroom so fast, I slipped and hit my knee on the hallway wall. I locked every door, every window, turned on all the lights, and barely slept that night. The next morning, I checked my phone and found a message from a number I didn't recognize. No name, no profile picture. It said, "You followed instructions." That makes things easier. I tried calling the number. It didn't even ring, just gave me that weird, disconnected tone. At this point, I was in full paranoia mode. I deleted Tinder, blocked every unknown number, turned off all Bluetooth and location services. I even bought a cheap burner phone just in case. But the real nightmare started 4 days later. That's when I got an email from myself. And the attachment was a video. A 47-second video of me, lying in bed, asleep. The timestamp was the night before I met Ari. You ever feel your body lock up, like you're not even in control anymore? Your lungs work, your heart beats, but you're just frozen. That's what happened to me when I hit play on that video. I wish I didn't. I wish I had just deleted it and thrown my whole laptop into Lake Washington. But curiosity is a disease, and I caught it bad. The screen went black for a few seconds, then flickered like a VHS tape. No sound, just this grainy night vision view of me, asleep in my own bed. I live on the second floor. My window is locked. My door is dead-bolted. And yet, there I was, completely still, face partially lit by my LED strip lights, which I always keep on purple because they help me sleep. The camera angle, from the corner of the room, not from my webcam, not my phone. Something or someone was physically in my room with a camera. The footage is shaky. Someone's breathing, heavy. You can hear the camera mic pick it up, but not like nervous breathing. It was calm, controlled, like whoever was holding the camera had done this before. A lot. They got closer. You could see my face twitch slightly in my sleep. The camera lingered. 30 seconds in, they reached out toward my head. Just for a second. They didn't touch me, just hovered a gloved hand a few inches above my face, like they were testing something. Then they stepped back, and right before the video cut out, they whispered. I had to crank the volume up and play it at half speed, but I heard it. He's not ready yet. I threw up. No exaggeration. I ran to the bathroom and puked until my stomach was empty. I don't remember crawling into the shower, but I remember the water hitting me and not even feeling it, like my brain was somewhere else. I didn't go to work. I didn't eat. I barely moved. I just sat there, wrapped in a blanket, watching the window like a damn guard dog. That night, my bedroom door creaked. Not opened, just creaked. I know that sound. My apartment was built in the 80s. Everything creaks. But I couldn't take it. I ran out of the room and slept in the living room with the lights on, hugging a kitchen knife like it was a stuffed animal. I didn't even tell my roommate when he got back. I just said I wasn't feeling well. But it got worse. 3 days later, I got a package in the mail. No return address, just a small white box with a blue sticker sealing it shut. You know those little smiley face stickers therapists give to kids? It was one of those. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct in me said to toss it and run, but I didn't. Inside was a bar of soap. Nothing else. Just a small off-white soap bar, like the kind you'd find in a cheap motel. Except this one was handmade. Rough texture. No label. Smelled faintly of iron and lavender. I took one look and nearly threw it across the room because carved into the surface actually carved into the soap, was a single word: cleanse. My first thought was blood, like maybe this was soap made from someone, but I didn't dare test it. I shoved it in a Ziploc bag and hid it in the bottom of my laundry basket. That night, I got another message, this time through Instagram, an anonymous account with no posts, no followers, just a black profile pic and the handle at safe, showered. They DM'd me a photo, no caption, no explanation. It was a zoomed-in image of my bathroom mirror from inside the bathroom, and this time, written on the glass in clear, dry finger trails, was a new message. You missed a spot. I hadn't even showered that night. I went to the cops. I know, I should have done that earlier. But you gotta understand, I didn't think anyone would believe me. Some of this sounds like straight up creepypasta crap, but I went in anyway. Showed them the video, the soap, the DMS, everything. They barely took it seriously. The officer I talked to said it was probably just a prank or a jealous ex. He asked if I had been smoking anything strong. I tried to explain about Ari, about the fingerprints, the whisper in the video, but he looked at me like I was some sleep-deprived Reddit troll trying to LARP a horror story. They took the soap and made a report, but I knew they weren't going to follow up. I could see it in their eyes. So I went full paranoia mode. I installed cameras, real ones this time. Put one in every room. Started sleeping with a crowbar under my pillow. Even got my roommate to stay home more. But then, something truly messed up happened. I got tagged in a video on TikTok from another anonymous account. I clicked it thinking maybe it was a meme or one of those found footage, prank things. It was my apartment, but not like filmed recently. It looked like it had been recorded on a VHS camcorder, early 2000s quality. The video showed my exact living room, only it was decorated differently. Different carpet, older couch, but the layout was identical. Same weird paint scratch under the thermostat. Same creaky hallway door. Then a voice started narrating. He doesn't know he lives in a vessel. He doesn't know the walls have seen this before. A little boy walks into frame. Couldn't be older than 8. He looks so familiar, like I've seen him in a photo somewhere, but I can't place it. He's crying, covered in bruises, holding a bar of soap in one hand. Then, from behind the camera, someone whispers, "Time to be clean again." The boy screams. The video cuts out. I stared at my phone for what felt like hours. I rewatched the video 10 times, looking for any hint of editing or fakery, but the details were too specific. The camera shake, the color grading, the audio distortion, all of it felt too real. Then I got another DM. She picked you because of what's buried there. Check the floor. Under the vent. I ripped the vent off the floor in my bedroom. The screws came loose faster than I expected, like someone had done this before. Inside was a small plastic bag. Inside the bag was a tooth, a human tooth, and wrapped around it was a photo, a Polaroid. It showed the same little boy from the TikTok video, standing in what looked like my bedroom, back when it was painted that hideous 90s yellow. He had duct tape over his mouth. His eyes were so wide they didn't even look human. And standing behind him was Ari. Same blank smile, same dead eyes. Only this time, she was holding a knife. I didn't sleep that night. You don't really sleep after finding a tooth in your vent wrapped in a Polaroid of a child being held hostage by the same girl you just went on a Starbucks date with. I sat on my bedroom floor, back against the door, crowbar in one hand, flashlight in the other. I left all the lights on, didn't even blink for long. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face. Not how she looked in public, but the version in that photo. The way she grinned with the blade in her hand like it was a toy. Like that kid was just part of some sick game. Around 4:12 a.m., my hallway light flickered. Just once. But it was enough to make me flinch so hard, I hit the back of my head on the doorknob. I wanted to scream, but my throat felt like sandpaper. I was shaking. I hadn't even realized I was crying until the tears started dripping onto my knees. I stayed like that until the sun came up. When my roommate woke up and came out of his room, he stopped and just stared at me. He asked if I was okay, and I almost told him everything right then and there. But something stopped me. I kept thinking about that line in the TikTok video. He doesn't know he lives in a vessel. What did that mean? Did this apartment used to be something else? Had something happened here before? Something that no one ever told me about. I did what any idiot with Wi-Fi would do. I Googled it, searched the apartment address. Nothing. Searched the building. Nothing. Then I searched the street. That's when I found it. An archived news article from 2004. Grainy as hell. Buried in some old local Seattle crime blotter. Body of missing boy found behind wall in Capitol Hill. Apartment complex. I stopped breathing. The article said his name was Julian S. He was 7 years old. Reported missing from his school 3 months before his body was found. Authorities believed he'd been lured by someone who posed as a school nurse and picked him up early. No one noticed until it was too late. His remains were discovered behind a false wall panel in an upstairs apartment when new tenants complained of a smell. The apartment. Mine. Everything went numb. My vision blurred. I couldn't hear anything except my pulse pounding in my ears. Then I saw the grainy photo attached to the article. The boy. It was him. The one in the Polaroid. Same bowl-cut hair. Same big eyes. I scrolled further. At the very bottom of the article, there was one final line that shattered me. The suspect was never found. The case remains open. The only evidence recovered was a used bar of handmade soap and a child's sock tied in a knot. Soap. The soap, I snapped. I went full-blown conspiracy mode. I skipped work, shut off my phone, and dove into every rabbit hole I could find. Dark web forums, lost crime databases, missing persons archives. I went deep. Found this sub-forum on an Onion site called the Dollhouse Files. It was locked behind a paywall of crypto and biometric encryption, but someone on a Discord server I found, some sketchy ex-hacker dude named Wintermask, offered to get me in. Said he'd seen the name Ari before. Said she wasn't a person. Not really. He claimed she was part of a network called the Dollmakers. According to him, the Dollmakers are like a cult, but not religious. More like collectors. Wealthy, psychotic individuals who buy and sell people. Not for trafficking, not for slavery, for display. He said they make dolls. Real people, usually children or young adults, who are cleansed, surgically altered, psychologically broken, and then preserved. Sometimes they're left alive, sometimes not. He said they film the entire process, and those videos, they're traded, shared, collected, sometimes even reenacted with new victims in old locations, like mine. I wanted to call BS, but then he sent me a file. It was a screenshot of a live stream from one of these forums. The timestamp was just 14 minutes before. The image showed a room My room. Same LED lights. Same comforter. Only this time, it was empty. No me. No furniture. Just a girl sitting in the middle of the floor, wearing a mask made of stretched human skin. And beside her, a bar of soap. Cracked. Used. Just sitting there, like a prop. The caption below the stream. New host acquired. The cleanse begins. That was 3 days ago. Since then, I haven't left my apartment. Not out of fear. Out of necessity. Because the second I step outside, my phone buzzes. My door gets knocked. Or a voice whispers my name from somewhere just out of sight. It's like they're watching every move. And yesterday, the mail came. But not in the usual way. The front door didn't open. No knock. No footsteps. I just turned around, and there it was. A small black envelope, sitting in the middle of my bed. Inside was a single photo. Me, sleeping. Again. But this time, the camera was so close, you could see the veins in my eyelids. And behind me was her, Ari, face to face with mine, her mouth slightly open, her tongue extended, as if she was about to lick my cheek. On the back of the photo, written in smeared ink, "We like how you smell when you're scared." I ran to the bathroom and tried to scrub my face raw. I kept going until my skin felt like it was peeling off, but nothing made me feel clean. Nothing ever will, because now I've seen them. Not just Ari. There are others. They wait outside my window. They crouch in the hallway when the lights go out. I can hear them breathing under the floorboards at night. And worst of all, they're in the walls. Literally. I started knocking on different parts of the apartment, just to see. Behind the kitchen wall, hollow. I put my ear to it and heard something faint, scratching, rhythmic, deliberate, like someone was dragging a fingernail in slow circles on the inside of the drywall. And then, knocking. 3 soft knocks, right beneath where I stood. I fell backwards and heard something shift in the wall, like someone moving away. That night, I set up one of my new cameras facing the wall, and this morning, I checked the footage. At 3:21 a.m., a square section of the wall, barely bigger than a microwave, opened, slowly, quietly. A hand reached out, long, thin, pale, and placed something on the floor just outside the opening. Then the hand pulled back. The wall slid shut, and now, sitting 5 feet from where I sleep, is a doll, a handmade porcelain figure, dressed in the exact same clothes I wore the night I met Ari, painted with my face, mouth stitched shut with red thread, eyes wide open, and in its hand, a tiny bar of soap. There are bruises on my arms that I didn't make, purple blotches in the shape of fingers, long narrow fingers, almost inhuman. I woke up with them 3 days ago, and I can't stop looking at them. They don't hurt. That's the worst part. They don't feel real, like someone designed them, not like they happened naturally, and they weren't there the night before. But that's just one thing, one small fracture in this spiraling, bottomless glass house I've been shoved into. Because now, I'm not the only one inside. I should have left when I had the chance. After the doll appeared, I tried to go. I packed a bag, booked a hotel in Bellevue, under a fake name, disconnected everything. Thought I was being smart. Thought I was finally one step ahead of the thing using my life as a diorama. The second I stepped out into the hallway, the power in the building died. Every light, every socket. Elevator stopped mid-floor. Phones dead. Even the exit signs blacked out. And then, the humming started. Low, mechanical, like a dentist drill buried deep beneath the floor. I smelled bleach. So much bleach. The whole hallway stank like a freshly cleaned morgue. The kind of clean that doesn't feel safe. The kind of clean that suffocates. I backed up toward my apartment door, and that's when I heard it. Click. Not from behind me, from inside the apartment. My door had locked. From the inside. I hadn't closed it. I hadn't even touched it. I was locked out. Or so I thought, until I turned around and saw that the door was open just a crack. The chain was still hanging. And behind the door, something was moving. I don't remember walking in. I remember blinking, and I was already inside. Everything was quiet. Not just silent. Sterile. The way hospitals get after someone dies. The lights flickered, and then I noticed it. My apartment had changed. Subtly. The couch was slightly off-center. The photos on the fridge were replaced with Polaroids of me from different angles. One was of me brushing my teeth. Another from behind me while I was on my laptop. One of them, me, asleep, mouth slightly open, a black gloved hand just inches from my lips. I backed away and felt something soft under my sock. A towel, soaked in something wet. I turned the hallway light on and saw a thick, dark red trail leading from the bathroom all the way to the kitchen sink. Not blood, not paint, something else. It smelled sweet, like syrup mixed with ammonia. A smell you can taste once it hits the back of your throat. I followed it. The bathroom door was wide open, but the mirror was gone. Literally gone. Removed. Like someone had unscrewed it from the wall. In its place was a black garbage bag taped over the frame. Sloppily, as if done in a hurry, and drawn on the bag was a childlike chalk sketch of a stick figure. The stick figure had X's for eyes, and in one hand, a bar of soap. I started screaming. I lost it, ripped the bag down, throwing it to the floor, and behind it wasn't just an empty frame. There was a hole, a perfect square, dug behind where the mirror used to be. Inside the wall was a corridor, a literal corridor behind my bathroom, lined with yellowed, damp insulation and rotting wooden beams. It was just big enough to crawl through. It smelled like copper and roach spray. There were scratch marks on the beams. Words scratched in. Don't make noise. They like it when you cry. Before the bleach. Before the bleach. Before the bleach. Repeated. Carved over and over. Deep grooves in the wood. I don't know what came over me, but I crawled inside. Slowly. Carefully. I used the flashlight on my phone, even though the battery was at 9%. I couldn't stop myself. I needed to know. The crawl space went on for at least 20 feet. I passed 3 other mirror holes, all behind walls I didn't know existed, all with air holes drilled through them. Someone had used these tunnels to watch people. I stopped at the 4th. The beam in front of it had a nail hammered into it, and hanging from the nail was a small cloth bib. Dried brown stains covered the front, and below it, on the ground, a photo album. I opened it. The first photo was of newborn, wrapped in a green blanket, smiling. The second photo was the same child, maybe age 3, eyes looking slightly off camera, nervous, someone's hand gripping his shoulder. The third, a child, age unknown, laying in a bathtub, mouth open in a silent scream, red foam bubbling around his head, skin peeling, a bottle of bleach on the floor next to the tub, the caption written below in perfect cursive, clean enough for the camera. I dropped the album and crawled back, fast. I didn't care how much noise I made. I scraped my knee, slammed my head on a beam, but I didn't stop until I was back in the bathroom, breathing like I'd just run a marathon underwater. That's when I saw my mirror again. It was back, perfectly mounted, spotless, and written in condensation, though I hadn't taken a shower, was, "You're next, baby doll." I punched the mirror, broke 3 fingers, didn't feel a damn thing. My roommate's gone. I don't mean he left. I mean his room is empty. All his stuff, clothes, laptop, toothbrush, gone like he was never here. The only thing left was a note on his door, taped crooked, written in red marker. "Thanks for keeping him warm." I called his number. It rang once and went to static. Actual static. Then a voice came through the line. "Do you want to see how he's being preserved? Do you want to see your fate?" The line cut. 10 minutes later, I got an email. Subject: shower protocol footage, live feed link. No body of the email, just a link to a .onion site. I clicked it, because at this point, why not? It opened to a dark room, lit only by a flickering overhead surgical lamp. A man hung by the wrists, naked, skin pale, wet, his head slumped forward. A woman in nurse scrubs slowly approached, mask on, blonde hair, pale. Ari. She held something shiny, a surgical sponge soaked in bleach. She began to scrub his chest, skin peeling away like damp wallpaper. He didn't scream. He didn't even move. Because he wasn't alive. They were cleaning him, post-mortem, preparing him, dollifying him, and at the bottom of the feed, 1 line of text, updated in real time. Next shower in 3 minutes. Preparing your room. Stay still. Stay good. Stay clean. I shut everything down, unplugged the router, smashed my laptop, turned off my phone. But they still get in. They still leave things. Yesterday, it was a toothbrush, burnt on the end, bristles melted. Today, a baby monitor, not plugged in, just sitting on my pillow. I could hear breathing through it, slow, deep, like someone sleeping in the wall right behind me. And when I pressed my ear close, I heard a soft, mechanical voice say, "Would you like warm water or cold?" They are not ghosts. They are not demons. They are people. Real flesh and blood people who have carved out a reality beneath ours. A world stitched into crawl spaces and forgotten pipes. A kingdom hidden behind drywall and security cameras. Ari is one of them, but she's not the one. I think she's a recruiter. Or worse, a collector. She finds people like me, lonely, predictable, online. She tests us, she selects us, and then she delivers us to the rest. And the worst part? I think the process has already started, because I woke up this morning and my reflection wasn't smiling back. I haven't looked at myself in 3 days, not in the mirror, not in a reflection, not even in the water that drips from the bathroom sink, which never turns off now, just trickles like a heartbeat. I don't control anymore, because the last time I did, it smiled back, and I didn't. I don't know how much time has passed. The clocks don't work here anymore, not even the ones on my phone. The digital ones flicker between random times. 1306, 99, 99, 0, 404, and they all stop when the lights go out, which happens randomly now, like the building's trying to decide whether it wants me to see what's coming or not. The walls bleed once a day. It always starts the same way. The pipes groan, like something large and metal is being dragged inside them. Then, the scent, sulfur and cloves, starts seeping in through the vents. It's the same smell I remember from the first night I met Ari. Sweet, rotting, almost nostalgic now, almost comforting. And then, the seams in the drywall split open like skin. Not cracks, veins. Red liquid oozes out, slow and purposeful. It trickles down the corners of the walls, like it knows I'm watching, like it wants to be seen, like it's taunting me. I stopped trying to clean it. The first few times, I used every towel I had, every roll of paper towel, the soap, bleach. Nothing worked, because the moment it touched the rag, the liquid vanished, like it was never there, like it didn't exist unless I saw it. I'm not the same anymore, and neither is the apartment. 4 nights ago, I heard someone knock on the mirror. Not the door, the mirror. 3 soft knocks, rhythmic, deliberate. I stood in the dark for over an hour, staring at the glass, knife in hand, waiting for something, anything, to happen. Then, the mirror moved. It breathed. I swear to God, it expanded outward like lungs inhaling. The glass fogged on the inside. A print appeared, a full palm, flat against the other side of the mirror, pressing from within, and carved slowly beneath the palm, in reverse, so I could read it. Step inside. I didn't sleep after that. Not that I can sleep now, anyway. They won't let me. Every time I close my eyes, I hear them. Not outside, not in the walls, inside my head. They scratch the backs of my eyes. They whisper through my teeth. I can taste their voices, metallic and bitter like a swallowed razor blade. They say things like, "You're almost perfect. Just one more rinse. We need to soften you." Then yesterday it happened. The true reveal. The part that broke me. The part I haven't told anyone. Because how do you explain that you're already dead but still here? It started with the email. Another untraceable address. Subject line. Full file unlocked. The shower room. No body. Just a .zip file. I knew it was bait. I knew it was the final hook. But I opened it anyway. Inside were hundreds of video files. All timestamped. All labeled with codes like doll number 349, cleansing, phase, doll number 112, surgical, rinse, doll number 2666, glass jar placement, doll number 000, RI, initial, capture. That one, I watched first. It was a blurry camcorder feed from what looked like the early 2000s. A girl, young, blonde, couldn't have been older than 10, tied to a dentist chair in what looked like an abandoned preschool classroom. Her face was bleeding from one nostril. Her left eye was already black. A voice, off camera, spoke calmly. "You are the first. You will become what they admire. The original mold." Then the camera zoomed into her face, and I saw it. Ari, as a child, terrified. She wasn't one of them. She was the prototype, the first doll. They broke her, molded her, and turned her into a recruiter, a groomed product who became the salesman. Just another display in their rotating cabinet of horrors. The next video I watched was labeled DOLL number 532 prep dash host ready. I hit play, and I froze, because it was me, tied to a metal slab, eyes rolled back, wires in my mouth, 4 in my neck, soap smeared across my lips. The same exact shirt I was wearing that day. The video timestamp? 3 days ago. But I don't remember that. I don't remember any of it. And then the camera panned. Standing over my body were 2 Aris, identical, both blonde, both smiling. One whispered, "He's the cleanest one yet." The other, not quite. His soul's still inside. The first one reached forward and dug a finger into my chest. Not cutting, not stabbing. Dug. Like the skin was clay. She pulled something white and flickering out of my chest. It looked like a heartbeat made of fog. She held it up to the camera and said, "This will go in the archive." Then the video cut to black. I think I died. Or maybe they replicated me. Maybe I'm not me anymore. because I haven't felt pain since then. I don't bleed. I've tried. I put a knife to my arm, dragged it across. Nothing. Not a scratch. Just a faint scent of lavender. Tonight, the walls opened again, but this time they didn't just bleed. They peeled. Sections of the drywall rolled back like skin after a fire, and behind them were faces. Dozens. All pressed into the insulation like wax figures trapped in fiberglass. Eyes wide open, some crying, some smiling, all watching me. And in the center wall, they carved a final message. You are ready. They're coming tonight. I can feel it. I've heard the gears turning behind the ceiling fan. The water's already running in the bathroom, and I didn't turn it on. The lights flicker on time now. The door doesn't lock anymore. And on my mirror, someone left a bow. A tiny red bow, tied perfectly. Attached to it is a card. Thank you for staying still. Thank you for washing so well. You'll be our cleanest one yet. If you're reading this, I'm probably already gone. Or maybe you'll see me next time you check Tinder. If you match with Ari, if she tells you to shower, if you find soap in your mailbox, don't run, because once you're chosen, you're already in the dollhouse, and we never let the clean ones go.